Alright, they give me the gavel and the gavel isn't loud. Good morning everybody. It is 9:03. My apologies for being late. We were catching up a little bit on, I guess today is the state of Portage, and we were getting a little preview of what's going to happen there. So watch for the newspaper tomorrow. I got the highlights now. So welcome everyone. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Very good. All right, we're on to item 2 already. We're flipping right along here. New appointments to the commission.
Madam Chairperson, we are in receipt of 2 letters of appointment to the commission, both of which are in proper form, and I'm pleased to announce that one of them is from the town of Burns Harbor, where the council president contacts us and says that John Jack McGraw, a councilman in the town of Burns Harbor, is the Burns Harbor appointment to NIRPC. The second appointment letter is from the town of Long Beach, and again comes from the town council president of Long Beach, indicating that Colleen Lane is their appointment to NIRPC. Both of them are in proper form, and they are welcomed as new appointees to this august body.
Very good. We're happy to have them. More the merrier. All right. Item number 3. Candace, roll call, please.
Yes. It's an executive board meeting, so I'll start with the executive board of commissioners and then move on to the new commissioners. Kevin Breisky, Porter County Surveyor.
Here.
Austin Bonta, City of Portage.
Here.
Denise Ebert, Town of Wanata.
Here.
Bill Emerson, Lake County Surveyor.
Here.
Wendy Miss, Town of Munster.
Present.
Courtney Partoon, City of LaPorte.
Present.
David Phelps, Town of Beverly Shores.
Present.
Jim Pressel, Governor appointee. Lisa Rosencrantz, Town of La Crosse.
Present.
Tom Schmidt, Town of Cherville.
Here.
Jim Tunn, Town of Chesterton.
Present.
So we do have a quorum. We have 10. We do have a quorum of the executive board. Now I'll continue on with the roll call. Kyle Allen, Lake County Commissioner. Dwayne Arndt, Town of Kingsford Heights. Jenny Beyer, Town of Schneider. Thomas Black, Town of Highland. Jim Burge, Town of Porter. Robert Carnahan, Town of Cedar Lake.
Here.
Bill Carroll, City of Lake Station. Tim Clayton, Town of Winfield. John Costas, City of Valparaiso. Dinah Dubras, Town of Michiana Shores. Connie Gramarosa, LaPorte County Commissioner. Keisha Hardaway, Town of Maryville. Bonnie Hawksworth, Town of Dune Acres. Christian Hendren, Porter Township Trustee. Vanessa Hernandez Orange, City of East Chicago. Josh Huddleston, City of Hobart. Lori Hunt, Town of Westville. Justin Keel, LaPorte County Council. Scott Keenan, Town of Ogden Dunes. Peter Land, City of Crown Point. Colleen Lane, Town of Long Beach. John Matwishin,
Here.
Tom McDermott, City of Hammond. Jack McGraw, Town of Burns Harbor.
Here.
Edward Morales, Porter County Commissioner. Angie Nelson Deitch, City of Michigan City. Randall Niemeyer, Lake County Council. Linda Pompey, Town of Potawatomi Park. Rick Ripa, Town of Griffith. Warren Schacht, Town of Trail Creek. Steve Spivar, City of Whiting. Gerald Sweats, Town of St. John. Sharon Sweeto, Town of New Chicago.
Here.
Mary Canis, Town of Dyer. George Topple, Union Township.
Present.
Andy Vasquez, Porter County Council. C.J. Whitmer, Town of Couts. John Yelkich, Town of Lowell.
Here.
We have a total of 17 in attendance.
Thank you all for attending today. It is very important to have a quorum in order to conduct our business. The next item is public comment on current agenda items, and there is no one here from the public that has signed up to speak. The next item is approval of minutes from the January 16th, 2025 full commission meeting. These minutes are emailed in advance. I do ask that everyone review your packets, and if someone has read them and is willing to make a motion to approve, I would exercise that right now. Jim, thank you. Jim, do I have a second?
Second.
Is that you, Bill?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Any discussion on the minutes, any corrections? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Very good, thank you very much. The minutes are approved as presented. The leadership committee did not meet today. There is a report in there with our minutes from our December meeting. It's pages 5 and 6. Our next scheduled meeting is March 11th at 8:30 in the morning here at this building. The bulk of our meeting today is Kevin's, and it's the Transportation Committee. So Kevin, I'm going to sit back and turn this meeting over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome. The Transportation Committee met on Tuesday, February 4th, and heard informational presentation from NIRPC staff on the fourth quarter safety, travel time reliability, and congestion performance measures. Mike Yacullo of Indiana Department of Transportation presented an update on the I-80-94 Flex Road project, which is a $200 million project to improve the flow of traffic on 8090 through the use of intelligent transportation systems. INDOT has requested NIRPC put the Flex Road project in the TIP. Staff presented 3 actions related to this request. The first is an approval of an amended air quality conformity determination. Secondly, approval of a Metropolitan Transportation Plan amendment. And finally, approval of an amendment to the fiscal year 2024-2028 Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP. The Transportation Committee voted to recommend approval of all 3 of these actions. Tom Vandervoot will summarize these actions, after which we will request approval on 3 separate resolutions.
Thank you, Kevin. As Commissioner Brzezinski mentioned, there are 3 actions that are being requested this morning. And so what I'd like to do is just summarize how all 3 of these work together to move this project forward. I'll take any questions. And then I'd like to ask the commission or the executive board then to take 3 individual votes for each one of those resolutions. But rather than have a presentation before each one, since they're kind of linked, we thought it might be more efficient just to kind of go over them all together. So this morning, the project that is being requested to be included in our TIP and our transportation plan is the 8094 Flex Road project. I'm going to give a brief summary of what that project is. This is, as Commissioner Brzezinski mentioned, an INDOT project. It's an over $200 million project to increase the operational efficiency of the corridor, to increase travel time reliability, and to improve safety. And so this project extends from Illinois 394 on the other side of the state line to I-65, and it's on the 8094 corridor. There are 2 major components to this project. One is the Transportation Systems Management and Operations Strategy, also known as TSMO. So if I use the word TSMO, that's an acronym. That involves a number of different applications, but those include ramp metering, variable speed limits, dynamic lane control, dynamic shoulder lanes, improved signage, and queue warnings. And you can see on this map, which was provided by NDOT, where these various measures will be implemented. And then the second major component of the project is reconstruction and reconfiguration of the Broadway interchange and the I-65 interchange at 8094. And then there's also kind of a small piece of the project which involves improving the fiber optics, connecting all of these various intelligent transportation systems together. So this slide shows a little bit more about what this would look like. If I go back, you can see there are a number of items that are going to be happening, but essentially what this is there will be reconstruction of the internal shoulder so that cars and trucks can use it during certain periods of time. And then there will be these gantries with signage, much like we have today, but it'll be a little more sophisticated. So you can see on this sign, there will be they'll have the ability to kind of monitor it real time, open and close lanes, change speed limits as needed to facilitate the flow of traffic. And then you can also see on this slide a scheme or sort of a drawing that shows how the Broadway and I-65 intersections will be, or interchanges will be reconstructed. I will say that NDOT did provide a much more detailed presentation to our Transportation Committee, and they also provided to this body a presentation in March. So this shouldn't be too new to you all here. As a bit additional background, so the overall timeline of this project, it got started in really in April of 2022, and there was a PEL study, a PEL study, looking at these improvements. NIRPC staff was involved in that, as well as local community stakeholders. In January of 2024, the project sort of became real when NDOT received this $127 million federal grant. As I mentioned, in March, they presented the project to our board here. And then between April and really today, NIRPC staff was coordinating with NDOT, as well as the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning and the Illinois DOT to complete the air quality analysis and develop the amendments that we're asking for approval for today. And then kind of going forward, you see the project will begin in summer of 2025 with some of that fiber optic work. Late 2025, the final environmental document will be completed. And part of the reason why we're doing these amendments now is because we need to have those amendments in place for that final environmental document. And then ultimately in 2026 through 2028 will be the actual construction. So as I mentioned, there are 3 actions that we're being requested today. The first is to approve the air quality conformity determination report. Second is to approve an amendment to NWI 2050 Plus, which is our Metropolitan Transportation Plan. And then thirdly is to amend our FY24 to 28 TIP. So the first resolution, which is to approve the air quality conformity report, this is required for all TIP amendments and MTP, Metropolitan Transportation Amendments, that include regionally significant non-exempt projects. And non-exempt means they're not exempt from the air quality process. So it's sort of redundant in a way, but we did conduct that analysis, and the determination was that all of the emissions that would result from this project would not result in any exceedances of the ozone precursors as regulated in our emissions budgets. So the table is there, you can see. This is described in much more detail in the actual air quality conformity determination report, which is in your packet beginning on page 14, if you're interested. Scott Weber is here to answer if you have any specific questions about that. I will note that the report was made available for a 30-day public comment period. We also held a public meeting in keeping with Engage NWI, which is our public participation plan. No comments were received. This was also reviewed by the Interagency Consultation Group, and we did not receive any comments from them. either. The second action would be to approve an amendment to NWI 2050 Plus. This is required because all regionally significant projects are required to be included in our plan. So normally, actually, because our air quality conformity determination report is an appendix to our plan, we really only have to amend that report, and then it's sort of becomes part of the plan as well. But Federal Highway Administration asked us to be a little more clear that we were also amending our plan. So we've done a very minor amendment to the plan, which is just a reference to, on page 10 of our plan, where we reference this air quality report. It just specifically states that it was the report dated February 20. So it's kind of referring back to the previous action. And again, this was also released for a 30-day public comment period. There were no comments received. And then finally, we are being asked to amend our FY24 to 28 TIP. And the reason for this is all federally funded projects, whether or not they're exempt, non-exempt, regionally significant, have to be included in our TIP. And so this amendment would add funding to the existing project, which is in the TIP. So that would be 14 million for preliminary engineering, about 200 million for construction, and then 26 million for construction engineering. Funding is spread out between fiscal years 25 through 2028. It's a combination of state and federal funds, including the $127 million mega grant, which I mentioned. The details of the project are also in your agenda packet, beginning on page 74, if you'd like to see how that money is kind of distributed across the years and across the project phases. And again, that information was released for a public comment, and we did not receive any comments on that item as well, either. So if there are any questions related to either one of those items, I will take them. Charles and Scott are here as well to answer any questions. If not, I have on the slide here some recommended motions which could be made if you'd like to approve the resolutions in your packet.
I have a question on, it's actually table 5.9 in the more detailed report, the regional emissions analysis for Lake and Porter counties, 2008. And there's a line item that says budget, and there's a line item that says emissions. Is the emissions the targeted and the budget was what was established originally, or what's the designation between those two?
Yeah, so the budget is what we are given. So the budgets are established at the state level through what's called the State Implementation Plan. And we have basically it's a budget. So it's the amount of emissions that we're kind of allowed to produce through our regional transportation. And the emissions analysis shows what the actual model emissions would be. So our modeled emissions has to be below or at our budgeted amount. So we can't pollute, we can't allow any emissions greater than what the state says they're going to allow us to do. And they have to balance all the sources of emissions, which could include vehicles as well as like industrial facilities, and it's throughout the entire state.
Is there continued monitoring going on that would compare these numbers from what our model says to what we're actually achieving?
So we model it. We model our emissions every time we have an amendment to our plan or to our TIP. That is non-exempt. That makes sense?
Sure.
We don't do like real-time monitoring.
So we don't know whether we're achieving our modeled number.
I'm going to ask Scott to maybe dive a little bit deeper into the model analysis. Scott, if you want to come up here.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So we as an agency, our staff at NIRPC, we collaborate with IDEM and our interagency consultation group on air quality, which is comprised of IDEM, Federal Highway, US EPA, Federal Transit, and INDOT. And collectively, we will revisit the conformity process every time we have an amendment with a regionally significant project, or when we have a new regional metropolitan transportation plan like NWI 2050 plus. But IDEM as an agency, the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, is responsible for developing the state implementation plan budgets for the whole state. They are the ones that will be looking at the monitor data that's across our region and working with us to determine what our budgets are for this, for the vehicle emissions sector, which is presented in the table. So the table is just the vehicle emissions sector budgets, not the entire, the other sectors that Tom mentioned. So our staff doesn't really look at the monitoring data since that's not our specific role, but we do work with IDEM on collaborating. They look at the data every summer. That's when the ozone emissions data are collected. So.
That's fine. I would make an argument that what's important to our constituents is, are we making progress? And that if there's some way to report whether we're making progress against the targets and against the model, that would be really helpful for us to take back to our constituents and let them know what's going on in Northwest Indiana.
Sadly, if we weren't making the levels that we needed to make, we would get defunded. So it's hard to convey that to the public at large. Our success is getting continuous funding. Thank you for a good question, a good discussion, by the way. Any other questions from anybody? Any more discussion? If not, the staff has put together potentially 3 resolutions for you to adopt to make it easy. We need to do these separately for 2502, 2503, and 2504.
Make a motion we adopt resolution 2502.
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
I can take lead if you'd like.
Yes.
All right, any other discussion on 2502? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Very good. That resolution is adopted. Resolution 25-3 also has a favorable recommendation. This is the adoption of the NWI 2050 plus amendment number 1. Do I have a motion to?
You do.
Very good, Jim. Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Dave? David, all right. Additional discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Resolution 25-3 passes. And then our final resolution is resolution 25-4, the TIP, the TIP amendment. 24, oh, I just said that, 24-5. Do I have a motion for approval?
Move to approve, Madam Chairman.
Is that you, Tom?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Second.
Thank you, Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Very good. That one also passed unanimously. Thank you very much. That brings us to item number 7-7.
Madam Chair, the final action for consideration today is Resolution 2505, designating NIRPC as the recipient for FTA funds in Valparaiso Shore Forest urban area. Stephen Hughes will explain this motion.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
So, as I think we all know, NIRPC handles the FTA money for 7 subrecipients throughout our region, and one of the areas that we do that for is Valparaiso area, and that's what this resolution is going to be about. So Section 5307 is kind of the general, what you think of for public transit funding. And so we take care of procurement, grant writing, oversight, handling the reimbursements, and a few other kind of administrative tasks for those subrecipients. so that they don't have to have additional staff members or staff hours put toward some of those tasks that are maybe a little bit more particular and specific expertise, that we're able to handle that on their behalf. And as you may recall, in the 2020 census, the urban areas were changed. The method of calculating that changed, resulting in the new Valparaiso Shorewood Forest, Indiana urban area, which that basically the entirety of that part was previously in the Indiana portion of the Chicago urban area. So because of how they recalculated it, we now have a new urban area, and in order to handle the 5307 funds on behalf of Valparaiso Shorewood Forest area, the FTA has asked us to have the governor redesignate, technically just designate, but basically redesignate NIRPC as the direct recipient to handle those funds on behalf of that urban area. Practically speaking, there's no real change on our side. I think we've added a page to our program of projects, which is kind of our working document in the background of the transportation improvement program. But realistically, the day-to-day operations are going to be very similar, and the staff on the side of Valparaiso will not see a big change either. We have a letter from Mayor of Valparaiso requesting that this action be taken, and there's a draft letter for the governor to sign. And obviously we'll make clear that if he wants to reword any of that, he can, but it gives him some guidance on what that should say, more or less. Please.
George Topple, Union Township trustee. You'll note on the map, a large portion of this does not represent the city of Valparaiso.
Correct.
The elected official for that area happens to be me, and I have, pardon me? Oh, God bless you. Yes. And I also am a resident of Shorewood Forest, which is located in there. But I think that Union Township should have at least be recognized in the process of this particular situation.
And as I was going to mention, George, you were at Transportation Committee, as you usually
Yes.
are, representing Shorewood and Union Township. Most of the area outside of Valpo is Union Township.
Yes, it is.
Large. It's just a name for the place because Shorewood
But
is
the
largest
representation
subdivision.
appears that we are part of the city of Valparaiso, which we are not.
Correct. Correct. But it's just.
So someone representing the unincorporated areas should be recognized with approval. I have no objection to this whatsoever. It's just a matter of, we are not the city of Valparaiso, and somebody should speak on behalf of the unincorporated areas.
Right. We have the same problem throughout counties, particularly Porter County. 80% of the county is unincorporated.
I think
As
it's rather
opposed to urban
significant portion
areas.
is in Union Township.
Yeah. But
And that's a
we got
significant
positive
portion of the
response.
population too.
And we got positive response from George and from the city of Valpo through Bob Thompson was the delegate that Mayor Costas had appointed.
That's right.
So it sounds like there's support for this, but I agree with George. You can't overlook the fact that what's the name? It's not just Shorewood. It's a large number of people outside of Shorewood also.
Yes,
Yeah.
a
And
significant number of people.
Yep.
I think George has an excellent point. And I think Union Township should be included in that naming somehow to show that that's their territory as well.
I think the question I would have, George, I love you to death. This is not an issue. Just so clear. The area itself has a legal name being referred to, and I don't know who actually makes the call of naming it, but it was named not by us as Valparaiso.
Census Bureau.
Yes, Census Bureau.
But Shore Forest is the.
Oh, I don't know if we need a separate resolution, maybe on George's request asking for the Census Bureau to rename it, but for the purposes of this matter, and for the purposes of establishing that there is representation within the area more than the city of Valparaiso, I don't mean that against Valparaiso either. Could it be as simple, and maybe it's not, I'm looking at legal, we have a resolution, and there's a part where it says, whereas the mayor of the city of Valparaiso, which operates, could we add a sentence or something that says, whereas also, or adding to that the Union Township trustee who also, something within the district or within the area?
I'd be happy with that, but
I know you don't have like a letter like John has, but I'm sure you would have wrote a letter, if need be, but.
We're not changing anything.
I wouldn't object to that, as long as it's included somewhere.
Yeah,
I
I think getting into the name of the district itself would be very difficult, but I think adding you in the
I don't
resolution
have a problem with changing the name of the
I think the
district.
mayor-
I've been involved in that process.
I wasn't suggesting we change the name of the district.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
I can't do that.
Right.
Just
I
to include our.
I don't want to be misunderstood there.
Oh,
That's not what I said.
Oh, I didn't misunderstand you there. I was referring to George, not you, sir.
No, I agree with, I think what Jim said is that we should be recognized as supporting this.
Yes.
Because we are a large portion of that area.
And if that recognition doesn't go any farther than modifying the resolution, I don't think there's a problem.
Okay, that's fine with.
Because
that's
we
fine
didn't
with
name
Union
these.
Township.
Yeah.
And every decennial census, the federal government comes up with these urbanized areas.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just a very general description and often based on census-defined places, which Sherwood is a census-defined place, but it wasn't separated as far as urbanized area.
I think some clarification is what I was asking for, not renaming.
No, I'm not asking for a
And I didn't think that's what you
clarification
meant
is what I'm
either.
talking
I was
about.
just referring to something else said, that I think that that's a little bit beyond our scope. But I think adding George or his title into the resolution makes sense.
And our chair has some suggested location and language in that resolution.
So we would rewrite, we would just add to the resolution 25-5, 6 and the 6th, and this is page 78 of your packet. Whereas the mayor of the city of Valparaiso and the Union Township trustee council, which operates the transit services for Valparaiso Sherwood Forest.
Slip that after the phrase.
Oh, we gotta move that after, okay. The mayor of the city of Valparaiso, which operates the transit service of the Valparaiso Sherwood Forest urban area as Valparaiso Transit and Union Township trustee, has requested that the commission remain the direct recipient of the 5307 funds for Valpo Transit.
That cross anybody's path around
Is that okay?
I think that's what.
That's legal, okay with legal, it's okay.
And would that be an amendment to the resolution?
That'll be the resolution. That'll be the resolution.
That will be the resolution because we haven't motioned or anything yet, yep. So,
Not the conflict, but just the resolution is specifically dealing with 5307 transit funds. That is the resolution. That's a transit fund designation. So again, no disrespect to George, but you don't operate transit, whereas the mayor does. So I'm trying to figure out how this fits into this.
Still includes our population and our geographical area.
It's in a whereas.
Who knows when that might be part of it.
So whereas the sun's gonna come up.
Yeah, he'd have to be after this though. You mentioned first the mayor of Valparaiso, then operates the transit comma, and you can say like as well as the,
as well as,
the trustee of Union Township.
but before has requested, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
So if I could kind of echo what Ty was saying, is this is really about, although we're using the term urban area, because that's the designation that's given by the FTA, and that's what was requested of NIRPC, which was to specifically identify Valpo Transit because it was taken out of the Chicago urban area and we have an existing sort of standing status as the direct recipient in that Chicago urban area. So because there's a different urban area with an operator within that urban area, that's why we have to have that operator make the request, because the funding is going to, or the administration of that funding would be on Valpo Transit's shoulders if we did not take that role on at their request. So it's, I mean, there's nothing wrong with having Union Township sort of supporting that request, but I think fundamentally it's a matter of Valparaiso making that request, because they are the transit operator. And if they don't make the request, then
we're not changing that at all.
No, just,
okay.
Well,
As long
we're
as
not
that's clear,
changing
I would
anything
say.
when we get into, after all the whereases, we get into, it is hereby resolved.
Right, there's the
Yeah.
resolution.
And that's the resolution. We're not changing that.
That's fine, as long as that's clear. I
it's
just
just showing support from Union Township that we.
We want to memorialize your support for
Right.
people that come after us. So,
Because I don't know how far the
Can we give it its own
expansion will take
whereas,
place,
away
but
away from all the
if
transit?
we're starting out now, I think it should be
That's
included.
overcomplicated.
You
I think
know,
George should have his own whereas.
No, we don't want to go that far.
No.
That might be crossing the line.
That way it's away from the transit money that he's supporting.
yeah. Well,
I think our chair has
it
got
encompasses everything that way.
We modify the whereas to accommodate George. We leave the rest of the resolution untouched, which accommodates your concerns, and we move on.
All right, very good.
Call for the
Thank
question?
We need to motion the amendment first, separately, or do we need?
No, you can adopt the resolution
With the
as
amendment. Okay, I move to adopt the resolution as amended.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Do I have a second?
Second.
David, thank you. Any additional discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Now we go on to the, oh, Adam is here today. I'm looking, I'm like, that's not bad. I'm looking in the right direction, so thank you.
As anybody with young children or grandchildren who have, or anybody who has young children or grandchildren who regularly make their way to the petri dishes we call schools and bring back various illnesses, you can appreciate that the Deitchley household was battling various ailments, and that's what you meant from us today. I want to thank the board for the support of the Flex Road resolution earlier today. Obviously, it's a big project. We've been talking to you guys about that for a while now. It's coming. Thankfully, we've been involved in discussions on that project for a number of years now, and to see it start to come to fruition is definitely exciting for us. We think it's going to be an impactful project. It's going to make I-8094 corridor, so we thank you for your support of that. Other than that, winter weather is here, and has obviously been here. We didn't get hit quite as hard, I think, last night as was anticipated or promised, but I certainly welcome that. It seems like we've crossed the threshold. Everybody keeps telling me we've had a mild winter. I think now we've crossed that threshold, past mild. I think we're now into something a little bit more than mild, but we're out there. Our crews are out there doing their best to battle it when it comes, and hopefully that's been your experience as well. And the last thing I'll say, anybody who has their breath bated waiting for community crossings announcement, I'm told that would be coming in the coming days, maybe a week or two, so keep your eyes and ears open for that. Other than that, that's all I have. I'm happy to entertain questions on any topic. Mr. Carnahan, sure.
US 41, we were supposed to get a turning lane in 2022, then it got moved to 2025. What's the status on that?
Okay, which corridor are we talking about?
I was going to go a turning lane from 135th north to, I think, 231.
Okay. I can check on the status of that. I don't know off the top
There
of my
was
head.
160 parcels that Matt said had to be acquired.
Correct.
That's why it got changed from 2022 to 2025.
I know that project is still happening. I believe it's happening this year, but again, let me confirm that, and I'll touch base with you after the meeting.
All right.
Madam Chair, may I address Adam? Adam, I have a question, more or less an observation to see if you would be willing to do some study on an area of US 20 that extends from Tremont Road east to Brummett Road as an area of potentially hazard, I don't want to say danger, I am not saying that, so potentially hazardous driving conditions.
Sure.
And this dates back a ways, back to when 20 was put in as a relief road for 12 without a divider in the middle. And we have issues about left-hand turns off of that road, and it is in Chesterton, that part is in. So I believe I'm represented by constituents on this. And head-on collisions and people pulling out in front of opposite direction traffic. I don't know if it's as simple as signage or, but we can't say what should be done until you've had an opportunity to look at it. But it is an ongoing concern from the people that have lived in that area and have brought it to our attention. So.
Yeah, and we spoke briefly before the meeting today, and oddly enough, somebody had come and approached me on the very same topic just yesterday afternoon. Not named Jim Tung, somebody else.
I wouldn't bug you twice.
No. I will be meeting with my traffic team actually when I get back to the office today to kind of initiate a process of looking at crash data that's available, which then can inform what, if any, improvements.
I don't think anybody's talking any major reconstruction, but maybe signage might be.
You wouldn't turn it down, though.
I wouldn't turn it down, but I'm also a realist and know that the state is not in a position to be doing that at the present time. So I would say maybe even something as simple as signage might go to help mediate or moderate the dangers on that road.
And to that end, like myself and Matt have spoken to this body before over the last year or so, the agency has really started to emphasize these kind of low-hanging fruit safety improvements, things that can be turned around in more of a quick order rather than the large scale, not that we're walking away from large scale improvements, but just are there things we can do on a quicker basis, whether it's signage or medium improvements or what have you. So
I don't think we need to run right to that level, but I think a look at it would be productive and appreciated by the people involved. That curve on 20 between those two roads has been the most frequent area where incidents have occurred between truck and car, and even worse. So thank you, and I appreciate your willingness to take a look at that.
Well, if it pleases the chair, I'd like to add on Mr. Tung's comments. I would ask that you take it further east than Brummett Road, that you take it all the way to Lakeshore County Road. We've had a fatality at 300. We've had a fatality at 375. Those are just a little bit east of Brummett Road. A couple of years ago, there was a proposal about putting an RV park at 320. That would have been a nightmare because there are hills that, I travel that frequently. You crest the hill for a left turn, and the cars coming over the rise cannot see the signal until they're right on the car. So I would request that if you're going to do something, you do it all the way to Lakeshore County Road.
And well, that's the exact corridor actually that I was contacted about yesterday by Mr. Aldridge.
That would be fine for me. I have to speak to my geographical limitations. So
thank you.
The part that's in Chesterton is what I have to focus on.
I understand.
But I'm not discounting your concern.
And Adam will be around after the meeting. Look at how I commit your time. He will be here after the meeting if you have any additional things that you'd like to share with him. Yes, sir.
If I may, the next meeting of the Transportation Committee will take place on Tuesday, March 4th, 2024 at 10 a.m. in this room. And also I'd like to thank Jim Tun for giving my report at the January meeting. At exactly the same time, I was doing a technical presentation at our State Surveyors Society meeting in Evansville, so you can see the dilemma.
Yes.
Too far away to make those meetings.
Please avail yourself of my services.
You can count on it. Thank you.
See, we all work together.
We help one another.
Right.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. George, we're moving on to Economy in Place.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. The Economy in Place Committee met on January 29th to consider proposed guiding principles and comprehensive economic development strategy goals. And both lay the foundation of the SEDS, which is CEDS, which I'll use, strategy development. The Purdue Center for Regional Development proposed 3 guiding principles, which are titled 1, partnership and regional alignment, 2, distributed growth, and 3, economic stabilization and growth. Additionally, there were 3 overall goals discussed, which are titled 1, economic diversification, 2, workforce and talent, 3, quality of place. In order to allow for more time to develop the draft SEDS, the planned approval date by the Commission in March is being postponed to the Commission meeting of May 15th. Appreciate that, and that concludes my report. And we are going to have more workshop meetings in the future. The dates I don't have.
Very good. Well, we look forward to hearing more on May 15th on how that all came together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Environment, Bill Emerson.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
We had our meeting scheduled February 6th. That was the morning of the ice storm. You guys probably remember that. So we canceled that and postponed it to next week, the 27th at 10 a.m. In this room. It's a good thing we postponed it because I know my kids and I were sliding down the driveway that morning because they had a late start anyway, so it worked out. But we're going to be scoring, reviewing and scoring projects for the new project for the recommendations that TPC at that meeting. So it's going to be an important meeting for the Environment Committee. A lot of detailed review. Those who've been to those know they can take a while, but it's a good process. We're also going to be looking at potential effects of federal funding freezes that are going on at that meeting. So that's my report.
Very good. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Madam President, what month, Bill, is the meeting?
That's next week, the 27th.
The 27th at 10 a.m.
Yes, 10 a.m. Yep.
Thank you. Very good. Do we have any other business this morning?
Actually, Madam Chair, on that topic, if I could ask the question with the federal funding freezes that are going on,
yes.
If staff has any indication that that's going to affect any of our programs, or it's too early for that?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of it, I think, is waiting for the dust to settle, so to speak. But so far, the programs that we anticipate at least are paused are the ones exactly that you'll be talking about at the Environment Committee. Everything else that we have appears to be okay. The predominant amount of our funding is based on formula, and that has not been affected. Things like the Marquette Greenway, that was a federal race grant. That grant agreement is signed, and having just gotten back from DC last week, Justin Keel, who serves on the National Association of Regional Councils board, and myself went to the NARC conference. So we were able to hear from some of the DC staff, and that does seem to be the bottom line, that the things that are signed into an agreement are pretty secure. It's the things that have maybe been announced but haven't quite been awarded that are at risk, and some of the environmental issues like you're talking about. So I think we'll have a much better read very soon. I don't know if Kathy has anything she wants to add to any of that, but I think it's basically those grants that are the ones under concern at the moment. From just the general workforce, that's there's a concern with the reduction of workforce for the federal staff that we work with. We are aware of at least one individual from the FTA that was assigned to us that is no longer employed, so that's, I'm not sure exactly how much that will affect us, but we have had that news. So we're, just to be clear, we are monitoring this really closely. So National Association of Regional Councils, Association of Metropolitan Planning Organizations, others are keeping us apprised of everything that's happening, and obviously this is a nationwide concern. As Kathy's coming up, I'll just say that.
You must have something out at the edge of our seat.
Just in talking to my...
Or not,
yeah.
I'm a little nervous.
Well, I don't think anyone will be surprised to find out that our climate planning and our environmental justice grants have all been frozen and possibly are unlikely to return. Right now, we're concerned if any of your communities applied for trees through our spring community tree application route. We are actually, right after this meeting, having a meeting with finance to determine the risk of ordering trees and not getting reimbursed. So that may be on hold whether trees will happen. So, And I don't know who all those people are, but if
We
it's
always
you,
get trees.
what? Yeah,
We
that
always
one it might be delayed, it might be not happening. So you'll keep everyone posted.
Thank you. Yeah, it's strange times right now. And
Madam Chair, I'd like to just say, about a month ago, I emailed Ty and the rest of the staff related to transportation. And we had some email discussions about what to expect. I think, to their credit, they're working in anticipation, hoping for the best, preparing for the worst. But just to let you know that Mitch and Tom, Ty, Scott, I forgot somebody, but in that email chain, they've been considering that on your behalf.
that's great.
Thanks, Kevin.
That's good. I think all of us as governmental staff, we're all watching very closely. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm losing a little sleep.
Madam Chair, I would agree and concur with you, and I think the byword is stay watchful.
Yes.
And be aware that anything can happen at any time. Don't take anything for granted right now.
Exactly. It's and let your elected officials know where you stand too. That's very important. I've written my fair share of letters in the last month. Any announcements, Mr.
Yes,
Carnahan?
I'm very proud. I'm also a Chamber of Commerce director, and Caitlin Cody, who is a professional meteorologist on Channel 32 Fox Chicago, used to live in Cedar Lake, and interviewed me at Bigby's Coffee about a little over a year ago. But she came back out Friday, February 14th for Valentine's Day to Mork's Chocolate.
Oh, yeah.
And she did one segment and then a second segment. She did over 8 minutes on the Chicago Channel 32.
Very nice.
And I called over to Mork's and I said, tell her I said hello, and they gave the phone to her, and she talked to me, and she says, I'm glad to be back here in your little town. I said, we're a big town.
And ever growing.
Yes,
So
and I was very proud to have her keep coming back to Cedar Lake where she once lived.
It's always nice to get that publicity. Very good. Very good. Anyone?
Madam Chair, when I was mentioning the names of staff, Charles Bradsky actually wrote a very insightful email to me, so I appreciate that too.
Yeah, we're fortunate we've got really good people here at NIRPC.
All right.
Any other announcements today? Oh, Charles.
Yes, I wanted to just let everybody know, we did send an email out yesterday stating that the T-Rock meeting that was scheduled for next week, we canceled it in keeping kind of with what the commission has told us and is not holding meetings if we don't need to have a meeting. So there really wasn't anything to discuss on the T-Rock. So we canceled the meeting, or I should say we rescheduled it for April 29th. And that'll be a combination of the May meeting and the February meeting. So you're welcome to come back here next Tuesday. We could probably go out to lunch. But I'm not buying.
Thank you. Thank you for the reminder. Yes, I did see the email, so thank you. So very good. If there is no other business, I can adjourn this meeting without a motion. Right? Our council meetings, we always call for an emotion, but I am just going to use my authority and adjourn this meeting. Very good. We'll see you all. We will see you all. I have to hit the gavel, and we will see you all again on March 20th.